Hey, we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. My name's Joel, and I just work here. And so we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 8 here this morning as you make your way over to that. And as you are doing that, a little while ago, I was going into a gas station just to get a drink for the day. And And as I was going into the gas station, I pulled in there, and there were just two people outside, and they were screaming at each other. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but this ain't my fight. And so I'm just gonna walk right on by there. And they were just like arguing and screaming, and I was like, I don't even want anything to do with that. And so I walk in, and I get my Coke or whatever, and I go up to the counter. And as I'm about ready to check out, there's myself, and then there's another guy over here at this other cash register. And one of the workers say to kind of both of us, he's like, hey, there's a homeless dude outside. He's crazy. We've already called the cops. He's going to ask you, or yell at you, just ignore him when you go out. I'm like, okay, great. This is great. And so I look back over there to see what he's up to. And at this point, that man is now just staring in the window, looking at us. And it's like, oh no, this is going to get interesting here. And so I'm checking out. Thankfully, the guy right beside me, he finishes first. So he gets his stuff and he starts walking out. Then I'm a few feet behind him. And so as he walks out and opens up that door, that other man that's outside now just immediately yells hey, you got any money? It's like, are we about to get robbed right now? This is what it felt like. And so he's just screaming and shouts you got money, you got money. And this other guy, he just does what he's told, and he just ignores the dude. And he kind of walks by him, almost getting so close that they almost bump each other as they go by. And he just walks right by him. And then he goes over to his car and he hits unlock, and he's about ready to get in his car. And he's about ready to get into a very nice Mercedes. Now, whenever the homeless man saw this, and he looks at that, and he's like, you mean to tell me you don't got money and you're driving a Mercedes? What? And he starts screaming and starts throwing out all the curse words and just spitting and all of this stuff. He was just so angry, so angry. So all of that's going on, and I'm like, this is my opportunity. I'm going to my car, right? And so I walk over to my car as he's still screaming at that other guy. That other guy gets in his car, drives away. And as I am now getting into my car, I've unlocked the car, I got one foot in the car, and then that man looks over at me. And he was like, hey, you got money? And at that point, I was like, I maybe should have ignored him, but I was just like, hey, I'm sorry, brother. I don't have any cash on me, which was the truth, by the way. And I was like, I'm sorry, brother. I don't have any cash on me. And then at that moment, I was just bracing for it. I was like, here it comes. And then he looks at me, and he looks at my car, and then he looks back at me, and he's like, I believe you. And he walked away. I was like, I've never been so offended in my life at that moment. I was like, I'm going to go, I got money. I got money in the bank. I just don't have cash on me. I was like, bro, I'll write you a check right now, bro. I was like, all of a sudden now, I felt like I needed to defend myself, my value, my self-worth in that moment, just because I felt like I was being doubted just based on I was like, I need that bumper sticker, my treasures in heaven. And in our life as well, especially I think in Northwest Arkansas, in our culture, we have a tendency to want to prove ourselves, and the more that we prove ourselves, the more money that we have, the nicer car that we drive, the more that we can show off to the rest of the world, it shows that there was something right with us. That we are valuable, that we are smart, that we are powerful, that we can do it all ourselves. So much so that we want to show everybody. And there's something inside of me that I want to show that off to even the person that is doubting me, like a homeless man yelling at me in a gas station. There's still something inside of that, inside of me. But we're going to look at today that anything good that's coming out of my life, it was never about me in the first place. And anything that I have was never about me in the first place. It's always ever only been about God, and we need to remember that here today. And so that's what we get to look at in Deuteronomy chapter 8, starting in verse 11. It says, take care, lest you forget that the Lord your God, by not keeping his commandments and his rules and his statutes, which I command you today. He says, take care, lest you forget. What he's saying is hey, remember not to forget. Remember not to forget. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I do it all the time where I put my keys somewhere, and I put my keys somewhere, and I say, I'm going to put them here so I don't forget them. And then I forget where I put them. And that's where he's saying that right now, Moses, just to remind you of the context one more time, he's speaking to the Israelites who are literally getting ready to go across the Jordan, getting ready to go into the promised land. Moses is about ready to die, and he's saying, hey, before I die, don't forget this. And how do we forget God? We forget God whenever we don't follow his commandments. You're going to forget him whenever you're not keeping the commandments, his rules, his statutes. It's like, don't forget. Verse 12 goes on to say, lest when you have eaten and are full and have built good houses and live in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied. This is describing the perfect life for them, the thing that every single one of them would have wanted. If Moses, though, was speaking to us, he probably would say after all that, he's like, oh, and by the way, when you got that promotion at work, when you got the nice house, when you are driving the Mercedes, when you have the fully funded 401k and you're ready to retire and you can finally feel like you can put up your feet and just take a minute to relax, take a deep breath, say, I've made it. Don't forget. Be careful, because in that moment, when everything starts to feel okay, when you finally feel like I've done it all, here's what happens. Then your heart will be lifted up in verse 14, and you will forget the Lord your God. Your heart will be lifted up is another way of saying you will be encouraged. You will feel good about where you are in your life. You'll feel okay with your salary. You'll feel okay with what you have. You'll feel fine. You feel like you have finally done enough to make it, and then you're going to forget God. How many times have I prayed for the things that I have now? Like I prayed to get married to my wife back in the day. I prayed for my children. I prayed for this job. I prayed for the house that I'm in. And now all of these things that God has given me, answers to my prayers, all of a sudden now become burdens on me that now distract me from the things that God has given me and distract me from the relationship with the God who loves me. And I need to remember that all these good things that the Lord provides, and he has been abundantly good to us. So good. I've already talked about just how blessed we are to live in America, how blessed we are to be here, and all the things that we have. We need to remember this, that all good things are from God. And this is the main thing that I want us to get to remember, because if we're not careful, here's what's going to happen. We're going to start to think that I had something to do with all the good things in my life. And I know that there's a mixture of all the good things and all the bad things, but here's what my habit is, and it's probably not the only one, is that we often take credit when things go right, but we blame God when things go wrong, don't we? If I get the promotion, it's why? It's because I worked hard for this. If I got that job, it's because I did good in school. If I'm doing all right in life and I have kids that are raised up and they're actually doing all right in school, it's because I'm a good parent. But then when my child walks away, it's like, God, what are you doing? And when my marriage goes south, it's like, God, you gave me this woman, And instead, I'm not saying that everything bad that happens in your life is because you did something bad, but I'm saying that my heart disposition is this, is that when things go bad, I'm like, God, why'd you do this to me? When things go right, I'm pretty good. And that's the exact opposite of the mindset that we should have. And so now he's saying, don't forget this. Don't forget that all these good things that you are about ready to walk into are all from God. He goes on to say in the rest of verse 14, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. This is the Lord. Don't forget him. Out of the house of slavery, who led you through great and terrifying wildernesses with fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty grounds where there was no water, who brought you water out of the flinty rock. And so he's now saying like, hey, don't forget that how God has led you through all this, because you actually deserve more of this than you deserve all the promised land. Whenever you come into the promised land, you're going to think, man, it's because I'm so awesome. But don't forget, it was the God that actually walked you through that wilderness for 40 years. It says fiery serpents there. And I started to look up. I was like, I wonder what type of serpent that was. And I couldn't really decide or figure out what it was based on the Hebrew. But then I started to look up what type of, I just went down a rabbit hole or snake hole, I guess, and started to look up to like what type of serpents they had. And guys, this doesn't really have too much to do with my sermon, but I just found a snake and I was like, I need you all to see this because I've been having nightmares. And this is the type of snake they had. It's called the Saharan horned viper, all right? And I don't know what the devil looks like, but I'm pretty sure that's what the devil looks like, right? And so this is the type of snakes that they had inside this, and they would like burrow down in the sand. They would be walking around in the wilderness for 40 years with these type of snakes and scorpions and all sorts of things, and they didn't have water. And it's like, that's where they came from. And they're about to walk into the promised land. And God's saying, don't forget who took care of you whenever these were your neighbors. So don't forget me whenever you get everything right. In verse 16, he goes on to say, who fed you in the wilderness with manna that your fathers did not know, that he might humble you and test you to do good in the end. He said every day for those 40 years, every single day, he fed you. He took care of you. So don't forget him when things start to go right. And he did it so he could humble you. As we talked about last week, that's just him stripping away all your self-reliance so that you had nothing good to rely on for yourself, and now you finally have to trust God in it and test you to draw you closer so he could do good in the end. You know, it probably didn't feel good in that time period. If you were actually to go on Google Maps, you would see that to walk from northern Egypt, where they were, to Israel, is about an 8 or 9 day walk. 8 or 9 days. About from here to St. Louis or so is all the distance they had to travel. And it took them 40 years to do that. And they're probably wondering at some point, God, why are you allowing us to go through this wilderness? God, what are you doing here? It's so that one day he can do good for you in the end. You know, one of the most common questions that I get as a pastor, I even got it this morning is why do bad things happen? Especially they ended off with, why do bad things happen to good people, right? You probably heard that question, probably asked that question. First of all, it's a flawed question. There's only been one good person according to the Bible, and we murdered him. But for the rest of us, I understand the question. But here's the truth of it. From that verse is, why do bad things happen? So God can do an even greater good one day to his children. For those whom he loves, for those children, for those that he's allowing you to walk through a wilderness, he's allowing you to walk through this wilderness so that one day there's an even greater good that can happen. And now whenever you finally enter into that greater good, you know that it wasn't because of you and your strength, but rather it was always only God. And so he says now in verse 17, beware lest you say in your heart, my power and my might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. So the moment that after they spent 40 years in the wilderness and God took care of them, they're going to enter into the promised land. And then the temptation is, I did this. I got all of this. It's because I'm smarter, because I'm more savvy than my coworkers. It's all because of that. But he's saying, you didn't get it. You're not that powerful. Listen, it's a very humbling thing whenever you have a physical injury. I've never been very strong. I've never been jacked or anything like that. But I will go to the gym every so often, and I got some dumbbells at home, and I do try to work out a little bit and get a little bit stronger. But since I broke my arm about 6 weeks ago, I haven't been able to lift it up anything. And I started physical therapy, and whenever I started physical therapy, I was super excited. The lady that was helping me, she was like, hey, we're going to actually do some curls today. I'm like, finally, I feel like my arm is wasting away. And she gave me a dog bone to start curling. So there I am with all the 80-year-old women and physical therapy. I'm just reminded that I'm probably not as strong as I ever thought I was. See, because when I forget that God is the one who provided everything, I become prideful. When I forget, I become prideful. That everything good in my life was not because of me, but because of God. And the moment that I forget that, then all of a sudden pride starts to creep in. But God corrects that in verse 18 through the mouth of Moses. He says, you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth. So it's like, how did you even get the power? How did you even get the strength to get all of that stuff? For us, man, it's tempting to think, man, I figured it all out. And then I have to lovingly confront myself, maybe lovingly confront you and just remind you, hey, you didn't actually start Walmart, did you? The people that pay your bills, that wasn't because of you. There's so many other good things that we enjoy that had nothing to do with us, but yet we just got to walk in. And so what should our attitude be? Should it be one of pride? No, it should be one of thankfulness and gratefulness that God has allowed us much more than we ever deserve. He's the one who gives us the power. And here's why, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers as it is this day. So he is faithful through all of this. But in verse 19 it says, and if you forget the Lord your God and go after other gods and serve them and worship them, I solemnly warn you today that you shall surely perish. Like the nations the Lord makes to perish before you in verse 20, so shall you perish because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. He's saying, if you're not going to listen, you're going to perish just like all the other nations perish. And of course they would perish because they're following after the same path that all the other nations followed after. Just a modern example of that. Did you know that for a nominal Christian, somebody that never comes to church at all, if you get married, you have just as high of a divorce rate as a non-Christian? But the University of Harvard did a study of about 8 or 9 years ago. They looked at over 60,000 married couples over 14 years, and here's what they found. If you and your spouse go to church every single week, your chances of divorce drop by 50%. Now, we look at it and we say, but God, why is my marriage getting divorced just like all the other people that aren't saved? Well, maybe it's because your marriage looked like all the other people that weren't saved. But the moment that your marriage starts to actually look like the God-ordained marriage that he has called you to live in and walk in, and you love each other unconditionally with the love of Christ, and then that moment now, your life starts to change, your marriage starts to change. And he's saying, if you follow after the ways of the world, then you're going to end off just like the world. But when you follow after me, there's life and there's life abundantly. And then now we get to chapter 9. Chapter 9, verse 1 starts out by saying, hear, O Israel. That actually is the same way that we started out this series back in chapter 6, verse 1. He also said, hear, O Israel. He's repeating himself. Some people think that it's maybe a start of a new sermon, or maybe he's just trying to reiterate. He's saying, hey, listen up. Don't miss this. You are to cross over the Jordan today. Probably means that's either today or sometime very soon, to go into a land to dispossess nations greater and mightier than you. Cities great and fortified up to the heavens. They're going to go into this promised land. And now they're going to see the walls of Jericho. Now they're going to see all of these mighty nations. So much so in verse 2 it says, a people great and tall, the sons of Anakim, whom you know and whom you have heard, it said, who can stand before the sons of Anak? There's actually in the book of Numbers, it says that these people were descendants of the Nephilim, which are having a weird moment based on alien conspiracies and all of that. But there's this idea there that these people were giants. These people were tall. And so they're going to go in, and actually it was their fathers, their forefathers, that went in before, and they saw, man, this promised land is so awesome, so great, but there's some tall people up there, and I don't think we can take them. And they ended up spending 40 years in the wilderness because they refused to trust God. And now Moses is saying, hey, you're about ready to go into this promised land. There's going to be these giants here, but the Lord's going to give them over to you. And in verse 3 it says, know therefore today that he who goes over before you, that's the Lord, as a consuming fire is the Lord your God. He will destroy them and subdue them before you, so you shall drive them out and make them perish quickly, as the Lord has promised you. He's saying, if you go over and you simply just trust me, if you simply just follow me, then I will give you the victory. And so when we forget, we become prideful. When we forget God, we start to think that we had something to do with it. But when we start to trust him, when we start to remember, we can trust him. When I remember that all good things come from God, when I remember that he's the one going before me, I can trust him, which is good news for us. See, because the more that I've tried to follow after God, and the more that I failed following after God, here's what I've realized, is that forgetting God is exhausting because it's all up to me. Because I feel like it's all up to me. And I don't know if you're here today, but you might feel like, man, I am exhausted right now with my children. I'm exhausted right now of my work. I'm exhausted right now. Maybe it's because we feel like everything has been always up to us this whole entire time, and that is an exhausting thing. But when we trust God, it is restful because I realize it's God's battle, not mine. That I can just say, God, you got this. You have my children right now. You have my marriage. You have my entire life. I'm simply just going to follow you and leave the rest up to you and trust you. And now, so if you are here today and you just feel spiritually, emotionally exhausted, it's probably because you're trying to do so much and not actually trusting God in this. And it goes on to say, do not say in your hearts, after the Lord your God has thrust them out before you, it is because of my righteousness that the Lord has brought me in to possess this land. Here's how sneaky our heart is. Here's how sneaky it is. After they get brought into this promised land, and they finally acknowledge that, yes, it was the Lord that did this, now another temptation is going to come a hold. Let me illustrate it this way. Mike, I got my buddy here. Could you please welcome my son, Micah? Come on up here, Micah. I need somebody big. Jeremy, you're an elder candidate. I can make you do whatever I want for the next 2 weeks. No, Jeremy's a big guy. All right, so let's say, let's say this. This is you, all right? Micah, you're all of them, all right? All right, so this is you. This is my son Micah. This is you. And these are all of God's problems in your life, all right? Or these are all the problems that you stand. Now, here's what's going to happen. That God has led you all throughout the wilderness and all throughout, and he has been faithful for 40 years. I know he looks good for his age, but he's been faithful for 40 straight years. And then he finally comes up to a people that are much bigger and much stronger. Can we face off here right now? All right. That's a good mean face. That's intimidating, isn't it? There we go. Now, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, and if I was, I wouldn't tell you in church. But if these guys went off on a face-off and went off on a fight, I think we would expect that Jeremy might have the upper hand. But let's say now the Lord gives Micah the victory over Jeremy. And in that moment, hopefully Micah is going to be humble enough to say, this wasn't me. I didn't do this. This wasn't my own strength. But here's where the temptation came for the Israelites. After they defeated the army of, evil people like Jeremy, after they defeated him, then they started to say, you know why the Lord gave me the victory? It's because I'm so righteous and I'm so good. And all of a sudden now we're right back in that same place. Could you give both these guys a round of applause? Thank you. And that's how sneaky our hearts are. Where he's saying, it's because of my own righteousness. It's because the Lord loves me that much. I know that it was all God that gave it all to me, but it's because I am pretty awesome, aren't I? And then he says, no. It's whereas it is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is driving them out before you. Not because of the righteousness or your uprightness of your heart are you going in to possess their land, but because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God is driving them out from before you. And that he may confirm the word that the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. What he's saying right now is the reason why the Lord is giving you this land is because, number one, he's just, and those other people deserve the just punishment that are coming to him. So we have a just God, and we also have a faithful God because he has already promised your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this land, and God is always going to be true to his word, and you can always trust him. And so he says, it's not because of anything you've done, but it's because of who God is. So in the last verse, then we're done. Know therefore that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess it because of your righteousness, for you are a stubborn people. The more that we understand that everything good is from God, the more we can finally learn to rest in him. Everything good in your life is from God. Let me just finish off with this story, then I'm done. On the Christmas season, my family and I, we have a tradition. I have 3 sons. Mike is one of them. I have 3 sons, and on Christmas Eve, usually, either December 23rd or December 24th, we have a tradition, and I take all 3 of my sons, and we go shopping for Christmas. And now some of you are going to say, why would you wait that long? By golly, I'm raising men, and got to show them how to do it. And oftentimes, here's what would happen. We would go to a little local boutique shop. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Dollar Tree. I got a big family. I got to budget that. And so I take them inside the Dollar Tree on December 23rd or December 24th. And I get those 3 little boys, and I look at them, and I say, all right, guys, I need you to go buy one gift for each other. And then once you're done with that, I need you to go buy one gift for your mom and one gift for your sister. And then I need you to buy one gift from me. And on those days their eyes light up and they go running off in every single direction. And then I'm here in the Dollar Tree just trying to chase 3 little boys around as they're running up and down the aisles, trying to find the perfect gift for each other, trying to find the perfect gift for their sister and their mom and all of that, trying to find the perfect gift for everything. And so they always start with their brothers, and then they're trying to hide it from each other. It's kind of this fun little tradition where they're picking stuff out and hiding it and bring it to me and putting things over it in the basket so their brothers can't see it. And then they finally get to a spot where they can buy something for their mom, and they're always so excited to buy something for their mom, and they put so much effort and energy into it. And then after they buy all of that, then I'm like, all right, boys, it's now my turn. You better go and buy me a gift, and it better be a good one, right? And in that moment now, they go and find the gift that they feel like is the perfect gift for me. And I'm trying not to look at them, and I'm looking the other way, and they eventually put it in the basket and cover it up, and then I have to go up to the cash register, and I go put it on there. The lady at that cash register probably thinks I'm crazy because I'm over here, I'm just not looking at it because I told them that I wouldn't look at the gift that they were about ready to give me. And they were just so excited to buy me all of these things. And so finally, whenever they get all the gifts and all lined up, then they go home, and then mom is the one who helps them get it all wrapped up, and they go home, and they're so excited just to wrap things up. And at some point in some of the years, I've started to realize this. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the one that's buying my own gift right now, right? And every parent kind of knows that the gifts that your child is giving back to you are simply the gifts that you gave to him in the first place. I'm the one with the credit card. I'm the one that's paying the bills at the Dollar Tree. Literally everything good that we have, even our gifts back to God, were always God to begin with. There's literally nothing in my life that I can offer to God, that I can do good with, that it was not first a gift from God graciously to me and a gift that I did not deserve. And so I just remember a couple years ago, after we got all packed up and we got all the wrapped up and all the gifts wrapped up, they were so excited on Christmas morning. I love it whenever my children start to get excited, not just to receive the gifts, but also to give gifts. And I just remember they were so excited. They started giving the gifts and they started to unwrap it, and they were all excited. And then finally it got to me, and I was like, all right, boys, let's see, what did you get me? And a couple years ago, you know what they got me that they were so proud of? A bottle of Diet Coke. And I kept that bottle for years, actually. Why? Because it's a gift from my children. Literally everything that we have in this life, that we can give and we can do good with, that we can give back to God, is simply just a gift that God has given us. So how foolish and how prideful is it to think that we had something good to do with any of this, when it was always, ever, only Jesus. Hey, let's take a moment now. With every head bowed, every eye closed, let me ask you, what in your life do you need to stop and give thanks for? What in your life do you need to remember God for? Where in your life have you been prideful that you need to lay things down? We have a God who loves us, a good Father, whom everything, even our gifts back to him, is just from him to begin with. Father, we thank you and we love you. Lord, I confess there's so many times in my life when I think that I and my power and my might and my intellect think that the good things that came to me is from me. Lord, I confess it's always been from you. So, Lord, if it's always been from you, I pray that we just release it back to you today, that we trust you and we put our trust in you. Lord, I confess when I'm prideful, I pray that I would rely on you more today. In Jesus' name we pray. Hey, let's just take another moment, then we're going to be closing out the service in just a moment here.